Welcome YouTube. Hey, this is Scott with Bigfoot Explorer. We have a great video for you today. This is a new friend of mine that we've been talking back and forth with for about a week and a half or so. He was looking to finally tell his encounter. He's been reluctant to talk about it, only to very close friends. He wishes to remain anonymous, so for that reason, his name is Patrick. This is going to be a multiple parts video type deal. This is going to be part one. These first two encounters happened in North Louisiana around 2003. Patrick, you will find out, is very honest. You can hear it in his tone, in his inflection. You can hear it in the details that have been seared in his mind with aspects of witnessing these creatures. I'm going to let him do it justice rather than me tell you about it here. So this is a phone-in encounter. So I'm just going to play some static photos in the back while we listen to the Patrick encounters in North Louisiana. Okay, so y'all hang tight and enjoy.
This call is now being recorded.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
Hey, Scott Owens, man, the Bigfoot Explorer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
I want to thank you for giving a call, and you and I have been chatting back and forth. I don't know. I guess you. How did you come across me to begin with?
I saw your post on a Bigfoot blog page.
Oh, okay.
You posted, and
on Facebook, huh?
Yes, and I messaged you about, are y'all doing field work, and we started talking about,
right,
the subject.
Well, instead of just diving right into it, why don't you give a little background on yourself?
Okay,
kind of how you got started in the outdoors, what maybe led up to the interest of Bigfoot?
I grew up very poor in North Louisiana, hunting and fishing, and keeping our freezer full. And we had a garden, and so, wild game and being in the woods fed us quite a bit.
Right.
And I was a proficient hunter by the age of 10. And I hunted my whole life. And I guess I gradually got into primitive survival due to I wanted a more of a challenging
activity.
Activity. Taking flintlocks out and knives and living off the land and learning all the skills and it was just a blast to me. And so I naturally, graduated to that. And I'm proficient in the woods. My animal identification is excellent. I've been everywhere from, Wyoming to Colorado, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Texas, Arkansas, doing all of this. And I've seen tracks and animals of just about every kind and can identify them correctly.
Right.
And in doing so, I upped my hunting game and skills, and I quit doing what a lot of modern hunters do, and I started hunting further back and in the fringe areas and, way out of the way places, and that's when I bumped into something that wasn't supposed to be there.
Wow.
And,
when was that? What year was that?
The year was 2003. It was November, late November. And
is this in North Louisiana too?
This is North Louisiana.
Okay.
I'd been working a ton of overtime, and I was married at the time, and my wife took the kid to see her folks, and I had a very rare Saturday off, and so I decided I'd hunt Saturday, and so I set my alarm for 4 a.m. to go hunting, and I woke up at 8:30 a.m. late and mad at myself. And I said, well, you know what?
Hey, I've done that. The best hunters have always done that.
Yeah, and I was just so exhausted I couldn't get up on time, and so I decided that the day wasn't ruined. I could just,
right,
cruise on in, grab me some breakfast, and go hit the woods and do a midday hunt. And so that's what I did. And I got to the woods about 10 o'clock, and it's right at a mile hike in down this old dim road, and then you have to got to turn a right and go downhill for, you go 40 yards and then you crest over a hill and you go down, and it's all scattered pine trees through there with a little bit of brush, and there's a dry wash down there, and it's, you cross it, and I went another quarter mile down to where my stand is, and I get up in my climber stand, and the woods are dead. I noticed it on the walk in. I mean, there isn't a bird chirping. I didn't spook a squirrel. I didn't get barked at by nothing. I mean, the woods are absolutely dead, but it's a beautiful midday.
Right.
Sun's out, blue skies, nice temperatures. And so I sit in my climbing stand and I'm overlooking a dry wash, and there's a ridge in front of me and a ridge behind me, and so I'm up in my climbing stand about even with the ridges and about 20 feet, off the ground. And there's a confluence of two huge game trails that come through there. This is the best place to hunt. I mean, there was game trails 3 foot wide through there from deer.
Wow.
Runway. So I'm at the best place, and I'm hunting, and I hunt midday and a little past that, about 4 o'clock. A mosquito. The only thing moving in the woods was a mosquito, and it landed on my chin. And I just ever so slowly moved my hand up to flick it off, and whoosh, on top of this ridge, at my 1 o'clock, the brush just explodes. And inside the brush line, something takes off running. And
How far is it? Distance-wise?
Distance-wise, 30 yards.
Wow.
It's a very...
So it was front and center then.
Yes, it was on a ridge line and just about even with me when I was in my climbing stand.
Wow.
And all I see is the brush, just oof, and it takes off running through the brush, and I hear whack, 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 whack as it's going through this brush, and I'm trying to thumb through my Rolodex of animals and what could be causing this, and I think, I got busted by something. The only thing moving through here, and I get busted by it, and I'm disappointed over, because I never hardly ever get busted. But it was pretty, whatever it was, pretty smart to be on this ridge, looking. And so I sit there about another hour, and I decide, well, I might as well just hunt till dark. And because the sun's, getting down below the trees, and I reach in my pocket for my flashlight, make sure it's there, and it's not. So I said, well, I don't want to walk a mile and a quarter out of here in the dark. So I get out of my climber and I stash it, and I'm very relaxed. Had a great day hunting. Didn't see any deer, but I'm picking my way up this, dry wash and through these hills and in this, little valley. And I get up to where my turn is, and I got to turn, back to get up to that dim road. And when I get there, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner is what I'm thinking. There's a place that just opened up and had coconut shrimp. I am completely relaxed. And all of a sudden, it's just, bam, something's wrong. I had this feeling that something was wrong. And it's almost, I wasn't being looked at. I wasn't being kind of checked out. Something was trying to stir a hole in me. And I felt that, and inwardly, I kind of wanted to freak out a bit, but here I am. I'm an adamant woodsman. So I'm not going to run for anything. I stop and I check everything out and look around. And I could even tell what direction it was coming from, the stare. I could feel the stare, but it didn't make any sense to me. So I just make my turn and I start going up this hill with these very large scattered pines that are on it. And I'm headed up this hill and I make about 15 yards and I hear something cross that dry wash and hit the brush line. And I thought, well, okay, still not nervous. I'm walking up, making my way through these scattered pines, and it's just a beautiful area. And then something comes up through the brush, and it's making its way to me. And it's about, 15. It stays 15 yards inside the brush line, and about 10 to 15 yards behind me. And it's literally moving from tree to tree. Hello?
Yes, sir.
It's literally moving from tree to tree behind me. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm trying to figure out, hold on, I got an incoming call. Okay. And it's moving tree to tree. It's literally racing and jumping from tree to tree. So it's hiding from behind the trees.
And it's still daylight out, right?
It's still daylight. The sun is just starting to get behind the horizon. Most of the sun is still peaked out, and the sunlight is coming through the trees, and it's really a beautiful scene.
Yeah,
I love
sideways. It's that golden hour. That's
right. And so I'm heading up this hill, walking, and something is jumping tree to tree, from base to tree to base to tree. And these are some big trees, and there's, wispy brush in there. And
like down at the base of the tree, so not in the tree, but at the base of the tree, jumping from tree to tree.
Yeah, it is on the ground, and it is jumping from base to tree to base to tree. And the trees are 10, maybe 18 yards apart, big scattered pine trees.
Oh, it's pine trees. So it wasn't like you were in a nice hardwood bottom or anything like that. You're getting up on the ridges with some nice sized pine trees, 12-inch diameters.
Oh no, I'm talking
big.
36. I'm talking 36 to 48 inch diameter.
Yeah, that's old growth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm climbing up out of a hardwood bottom onto this side of this hill that has scattered pine trees. And
I'm painting the movie in my mind.
Okay. And the brush that has the little purple berries on it and the green leaves.
It's Yopon or privet, isn't it?
Yeah. I believe it is. And that's scattered through these trees here and there. And so it's using the brush and it's jumping from base of tree to base of tree, hiding behind the tree. And it did this, for a little ways up this hill, and I thought, what in the world is this?
So it's paralleling you.
Yes. It's trailing me.
Yeah, as you're moving forward, it's paralleling you as well.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes. And so I'm moving up this hill, and so I get, I take a step, I take 2 or 3 steps and a jump. I take 2 or 3 steps and a jump. I take 2 or 3 steps and I look, trying to catch it jumping. And I couldn't. It was so fast. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to fool this thing, and I'm going to take a half a step and look. And so I took half a step and I looked. And what I saw wasn't supposed to exist. It wasn't supposed to be there. And I saw a 2-legged, hairy, being not a big, I always heard these things were huge. This one was my size. I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. This thing was my size, but skinnier, and was a female.
Now, when you say female, it had breasts.
Mammary glands, yes.
Unbelievable.
So it's coming from behind a tree, and I look, and she's paying attention to where she's going to land at. She's not looking at me. And I watch her leap from this tree, from behind this tree, and she's fast. And as she bounced behind the next tree, the sun was kind of behind her, and she was a darkish orange red. And as she bounced behind the next tree, the sun was behind her, and I could see the split ends on the hairs. And the split on the hairs were almost a blonde color.
On the female?
On the female. The very last quarter inch of her hair was split ends. And it was just a very light white, almost a blonde color on it. And everything else was just orange red.
So at the moment, and I know we're going through this and it's hard to slow it down, but did you recognize that she kept a certain distance each time from leap
Absolutely.
From the tree? Was it the 30 foot, the 30 yards, or was it a little closer or further?
The trees she was jumping from base to base was about 15 to 18 yards apart. And she was clearing that distance very easily.
And that distance from her to you was still at that 30 yards?
She was 15 yards behind me and 15 yards to the left of me.
Unbelievable.
She was right there.
Okay. Go ahead.
And when I took that half step, she closed that gap just a little bit, and when she bounced behind that sun, I could see the colors in the hair. The sun lit her up behind her. And
right.
And she was very muscular and very, very strapping and very muscular and very thin, but she was my height. And she landed behind the tree, and it shocked me so bad what I saw, so badly, that I stumbled and almost fell because I was taking half a step and it was only on one leg.
Yeah,
and so
right.
My left foot hit the ground and tried to take off running, and my right foot didn't know what to do, so I almost fell. And when I caught myself, and I was jogging, when I caught myself into a jog because I was falling uphill, and so I'm jogging, and I'm running
out of fright now, right?
Yes, out of definite concern,
right?
Shock. Because to me, it was shock. To me, this doesn't exist. This is a myth. These ain't supposed to be here.
So your mind, though, at that time, you even though, let's say, you weren't thinking about Bigfoot as you hunted deer, when you did see it at that moment, it somewhat registered what it might be.
Well, in my childhood, I read as a child in the libraries. I saw the books of Bigfoot, and I read all about them. And I threw them down, and I said, that's hogwash.
Right.
Okay? I went through my Rolodex of animals, bears, everything. I've been 10 yards from a mountain lion,
right.
while I'm hunting. It never knew I was there. I have, I understand animals, and I have a great identification. And this thing, I went through my Rolodex of trying to identify animals, and the only thing that come up was that picture in that book that I read when I was a kid in a library.
Right. Okay. So now you're stumbling into a jog. What happens next?
All right. I start jogging, and I'm jogging up this hill, and surviving in a survivalist mode. You're taught that your greatest asset is a positive, calm, forward-thinking mind.
Right. Deep breaths in through the nose, out the mouth, calm.
Yeah.
Right.
If you cannot keep your mind calm, you'll panic, and that turns into bad things. So I calm myself down. I'm jogging because every fiber of my being wanted to take off running up this hill. But I knew if I ran up this hill, because I had pretty good ways to go.
This was early in your 1 mile out.
Yes, this is early in my 1 mile out, I'm 80 yards to the crest of this hill. I don't want to take off running up this hill and be winded when I get up there and wind myself early.
Right.
So I'm jogging, and my only saving grace is that she's not closing the distance. She's still 15 yards to my left, still 10 to 15 yards behind me, still going tree to tree, hiding in the brush, and I'm still hearing her. And so I'm jogging, and she's still doing this, and we do this all the way up this hill. For the next 80 yards, I'm thinking, what is this? What does it want? And I said, okay, strategy. How do we get away from this? And I said, okay, I bet she doesn't know how fast I am. You know, I bet she's never seen a human run. You know, I'd probably catch her off guard, but she may be faster than me. And I'm planning all this out in my head as I'm jogging up this hill. And then I said, well, here's the thing. She only assumes I'm going to the left. Because, you know, when I get up this hill, I have to hit this dim road and turn to the left. And it's almost a mile out. She only assumes this, you know. And then then I got really scared. She doesn't have to close the distance right now. She is in a perfect position, 15 yards off my left and 10 to 15 yards behind me, that we're going to intersect up in that road.
Yep, because you got to turn left.
Yeah, I've got to turn left, and that's where she's going to intercept me at. And that's when I freaked out a little bit more. That's when the inside of me is not calm anymore. Okay?
Oh.
And I said, but here's the thing. She only assumes I'm going to turn to the left. She doesn't know. And so I said,
right.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to listen for a pause. And if she pauses in her gait, you know, because I train horses. You know, I break and train, and you know, an animal's gait and their physical posturing, you know, I'm very good at reading all that. And so I'm listening to her gait. And so I'm going to pay attention to her gait, and she's going to have to pause to confirm which way I'm going. And when she does, bam, I'm going to take off. And so, you know, I crest the top of this hill, and I got 40 more yards to go, and she's still in the brush, and she's keeping her pace, and I'm keeping mine. I'm still jogging. And I get 10 yards from that road. I get 5 yards from that road, and she paused. And I leapt out into the middle of that road, and I looked like an Olympic runner. I left dust. And she actually stepped out to the road, to the edge of the road, because I looked back at about 15 yards. You know, when I'm running, I looked back, and she actually stepped out to the edge of the road and looked at me and scuffed her feet.
Scuffed her feet?
Yeah, you know how you ever seen a kid, you know, don't get his way and he scuffs his feet on the ground?
Yeah, like the dust comes up.
Yeah, she did that. And so I'm running. I look back, I see that, and that's when I have my rifle in both hands. I actually swap it to one hand because I can run faster. And there's a tree that I had to stop and climb over to get, you know, back. I cleared it. That's how hard I was running. And I made 25 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards. I'm putting distance between she and I. And then I hear her legs start up. And that's the only way her legs start up.
Oh.
That's the only way I can describe. Her legs started up, and it was just a, and then she caught up with me. And she's running. She's running beside me through the brush, and the brush is hitting her. We're running so fast, the brush is whipping her like a switch. I can hear her breaking, and these little green limbs she's running through, and her feet are hitting the ground twice as fast as mine are. It's almost like her legs don't work like mine. You know, I'm smoothly running. I'm covering ground, and she's roughly running, but she's so fast. I mean, absolutely amazingly fast. She caught up with me. I had almost 45 yards between she and she caught up with me, I'd say under 8 seconds. You know, just that fast.
Oh my God.
And so that's when I got really terrified. Oh my God, I can't outrun her. And I'm paying attention to her running, because if I hear her leave the leaves, If she comes out into the road, I'm gonna turn around and just fire. And I don't want to shoot. I don't want to kill anything like this.
Right.
But if she comes out in the road, I'm gonna stop, and I'm just gonna spin and fire and empty my weapon. That's all I could do. But she never did. She stayed in that brush line, and she's running right beside me. And I'm running, and I don't even notice being tired. I have so much adrenaline going.
I was just about to say that adrenaline is pumping so hard you don't know what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I am running so hard. And finally, I'm running, and I get to this dog leg in the road, and I recognize where I am. I'm 115 yards from my truck. And and about the same time, I thought she started peeling off a little bit, getting a little distant from me. And I said, oh my God, she's going away. I got excited. She's going away. But it wasn't. I look over at her, and she's still running the brush line. The brush line is getting away from the road, and she's standing in the brush line and following the brush line. All right.
Smart.
And so, And so, and I get probably 50 yards from the trailhead, and I'm looking, I see that brush line that I never really paid attention to, and that comes right up against the trailhead. There's just a little 3-foot area that you make it through, on that trailhead. And it's like she and I saw it at the same time, because she took off. I mean, she hit high gear and just, and she's making a round through this. Now she's
almost as if she knew y'all were going to meet at that one spot, and she wanted to get there first.
Exactly.
She wanted to get there first.
Yeah, she was trying to beat me there.
Unbelievable.
And she's probably having to follow the brush line, which goes out about 45, 50 yards and circles back around. And I'm running down this road. Yeah, and I'm running down this road, so I got a straight shot. And so I caught it. I found a gear I didn't know I had. I mean, I'm running like a deer. I'm running so fast. I am terrified. I am running for my life at this point.
At this point, you get into the trailhead. The sun's down. It's still light, but the sun's down. There's no more shine. Or was the sun still out?
No, I would say from the time I hit that road, I would say maybe within 4 or 5 minutes, I was down that road.
Yeah.
So about half. Yeah, I mean, you talk about a 3-minute mile. I mean, I think
I was just about to say you made that mile in 5 minutes.
And the sun was probably a third of the way down below the horizon. And when I got to the trailhead, it was, it wasn't much lower. It really wasn't. I was moving. And,
so she's following that brush around that circle.
Yes.
Y'all both know where the trailhead is. What next?
Okay. Well, I hit another gear, and she's trying to beat me to this trailhead. And when you go through this brush, it drops down into a bar ditch, and then a gravel road, and then my truck. And so I had the thought, well, do I slow down and go when I go down this hill? Because if I fall, I could be in trouble. And I thought, no, just leap off into it and try to land on the roadway, because if you slow down, you're not going to make it, So I'm running, and I'm when I hit this brush line, I look to my left and I see her, and she's got 10 yards. She's 10 yards from me.
Oh my God.
And when I clear that brush, which is, maybe 3 or 4 feet, worth of brush, I clear through there. You can see her through the brush at like that 10 yards? I could see her. She was right there. I could have spit on her. She was trying to beat me there, and she was very fast. She almost did it. But I caught another gear. I had somehow I got even faster. And I guess I threw her timing off, but I passed 10 yards in front of her when I cleared that, through that little row there at that trailhead. And I just leapt for my life to, out into that bar ditch. And I thought, well, if I hit the ground and I stumble and I fall down, I'm just going to roll over and shoot.
Yeah.
And, that's the plan. But if I land on my feet, then we're going to get in the truck and leave. So I was trying to hit the road. I didn't. I landed in a bar ditch. I twisted my right ankle, but I was still on my feet. I snatch my keys out, I get in my truck. She's still standing still, you know, in that brush 10 yards from that trailhead. She hadn't moved.
Looking
and I
at
sling
you.
I sling my gun in my truck. I crank it up. I don't even hit first gear, I hit second and just dump the clutch. And I'm lurching and throwing gravel everywhere, and I get a quarter of a mile down the road and I start laughing at myself. I said, there's no way that happened. There's absolutely no way that happened. You know, that couldn't have happened. And I tried to explain it away in any other way I could. That just did not happen. But the second one I run into, that's when it really confirmed me that there is a phenomenon known as this.
That is a riveting daytime encounter that lasted for a good 10 minutes, right? Or a good half an hour from when the incident happened in the deer stand till when you were flinging gravel.
From the deer stand to the time I hit gravel was probably an hour and 15 minutes.
Now, at that site where you twisted your ankle, you're in the bar ditch, she's standing still, looking through. Were you able to see, like, her face, the facial features?
I saw just dark skin and bright eyes. Very wide face.
Huh?
Very wide face. You know, just, you know.
I guess it was
glossy.
impossible. I mean, you've had time to reflect now, and it's just kind of a dumb question to ask, but I like to ask it. Did you smell anything?
On that trip, no.
Yeah.
She was I have in recent years.
Right.
And because of that incident and the second incident, I wound up doing a lot of years of investigating and keeping my mouth shut. And last year was the first time I smelled one.
Now, before we go forward now, there's one integral part of this story that you told me that not only am I intrigued about, but you also mentioned you saw a baby or a smaller one.
That's later years. This is the mother when I believe this one was about a 16 or 17-year-old female. And it's still her today that has the little one running around up there.
Wait, so from 2003 until now, you've had multiple encounters with what you believe to be the same individual creature.
It's definitely her.
Unbelievable. So how many of these encounters from 2003, from this story until now, have you actually had with her?
Specifically with her? 8.
Or her. 8?
I would say, I'm counting them. I would say 8, 9, somewhere around 9. I'd have to sit down and actually go through the timeline, but I'd say roughly 9.
How do you keep this contained within yourself? Because, first you've got to have a stance on it. First, you've got to wrestle with the fact that this is real, and I think you're way beyond that now. But this is something that you've had. It didn't affect you like I hear a lot of people say how, first of all, I mean, there's so many questions in my mind I have for you, and I know this will probably be a multiple part interview, but most people that get these face-to-face encounters are completely changed. They're awakened, and in many cases, they suffer from PTSD-like symptoms. So you went through that.
I have. I chalk that up as just a strange experience that no way in shape form could have existed.
Right, but it didn't.
Okay.
It
But
didn't
then,
stop you from going back out in the woods, though, right?
no, it didn't. I was very cautious. It did have an effect on my outdoor experiences.
Right.
And but you know, after a while, I put it past me, and it was the second one actually really called.
Before you get there, answer this one question, and then we'll go there. This first encounter with what we'll call female one.
I named her. Her name's Samantha.
Okay, great.
Sasha. Yeah.
So
her name, she's Sasha, and the little one's Sam.
Unbelievable. So Sasha's encounter, the first one, your eye opener into this reality.
Yes.
Each of the next 8 or 9 encounters that you had, did this happen in that same area where you were hunting all the time? They're always in there?
They roam miles.
That's my next question, because I really love wildlife biology, being a forester and all.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to deal with a home range of something like this and what keeps them in an area, or does it even matter? There's so many interesting things about their biology and the ecology of how they live. That's one of the main draws for me to want to know, to want to protect them and learn this. So you're someone who's had many encounters over a period of 12 to 13 years. You've seen the same Sasha, regardless of how they travel. You ended up at each of these encounters with her.
Well,
there's got to be an anchor to why they stay where they stay.
It's been my experience. If you have a good supply of meat, and not just pigs, deers, but snakes too. And if you have a good supply, and if you have, and of course there's berries, there's edible briars. You know, if you have a good supply of that, they'll travel around and live off of it. And
right. And a lot of people don't realize, they think of the state of Louisiana, it's nothing but swamps, but central to North Louisiana to the Arkansas line, especially in Claiborne Parish, that is wilderness, son. I've been up there with forestry crews from the U.S. Forest Service when we did Safest Work, which is an inventory project that we did. And I call it mountains up there. I mean, I'm a flatlander. I hadn't been many places, but North Louisiana is what I call rugged wilderness.
There are some places, especially in this area. The place I was hunting was adjacent to about I'm gonna say probably 1.5 miles or 2 square miles of land that no one gets to.
Wow.
Because it's landlocked. It's too far for any man to walk.
Yeah.
So
before we get off track, you want to go through your second one that really solidified it for you?
We can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
The year this happened and all that kind of stuff in relation to Encounter 1.
Yes. I will lead into it. I didn't go back to that bottom that I first encountered. That what I, had a hard time with. I didn't go back there that year. The following year, my son wanted to hunt, and so we started hunting. And after a few years of squirrel hunting, that's all he wanted to do. He said he wanted a deer hunt. And so I knew someone that was on a great lease that backed up to Peace and Range. And so we got on it, and the deal was that it's such a far drive that we'll go down there on an early Saturday morning and we'll do a morning hunt, evening hunt, another morning hunt. So that's 6 hunts a month, which is, you know, which is pretty good. That's about what we were doing when we were, you know, hunting close. And so my son was, you know, great with that. And he's, I think he was, 12 years old, you know. And so we drive down and we hunted 2 weekends in November, and then the second week of December, and this is 2009.
So did your son know of your first encounter when y'all went on the second trip?
No, absolutely not. I didn't talk to anybody about that.
Okay.
You know, I couldn't even admit to myself that was something that was real. And so we drive down and, well, he wakes up that morning and he wasn't feeling good and he was sick, and I told him we don't need to go hunting. Oh, he begged me to take him hunting. So, and we're going to camp down there. We're camping. So, all right, you know, so I load him up with medicine. We get in my truck. We drive all the way down, and we get down to where we cut across this national forest over there, and he has to go to the restroom. He's upset. His stomach is upset. And so I said, well, give me a quarter mile, you know, get off this main highway. So we stop, and he gets out and does his little business and gets back in the truck. And we do this every quarter to half mile across this national forest for about 3 miles.
Poor dude.
You know, yeah, poor dude, you know, and, which is a very important part to this encounter. And, so, you know, finally the last 2 miles, he's doing pretty good. And, you know, we're running 38, 40 mile an hour down this, you know, these old, you know, parish roads, gravel roads, and we make it to the lease gate. And I have my window down, and when I get to the lease gate, and I hear a very familiar sound, but I can't wrap my head around it. I hear this, and I cannot wrap my head around it. It's at a distance, about, you know, 80 yards inside, you know, this wood line. And I thought, you know, just a deer. And so he jumps out, unlocks the gate, and I pull through, and he closes the gate, and we take off again, you know, and we're doing, you know, 25, 30 mile an hour down this lease road. And we didn't go.
Private land.
This is private land. This is private land. It's timber land. And, so, you know, we go down probably, mile and a half, and we turn left down another road, and then about another, you know, half mile down, there's his deer stand where he's going to hunt at. And I stop there, and this is all before daylight. You know, this is, you know, 4:30 in the morning. And I stop the truck, and as soon as the truck stops, I hear that familiar sound again. And I still can't wrap my head around it. It's just like something running. You know, and it's so familiar, and I cannot wrap my head around it. And so, oh well, you know, I'm trying to get him in the stand and get myself in the stand too, you know. So I put him in a deer stand, I get him all set up, and he's feeling pretty good, you know, his stomach's settled down. So, you know, I get him set up, got his flashlight, close him up in his stand, and the stand's down there on the ground because we did the Hunters on Wheels thing. Is our opening weekend is always donated to Hunters on Wheels, you know, and to be on the ground, you know, for wheelchairs and
right.
That. So
kind of like I've been involved with the Wounded Warrior Project. It's the same way.
Yes, it is. It is the same way.
Yeah.
And
so this is an evening hunt or a late morning hunt?
This is early morning. This is pre-dawn. This is, you know, we left my house at 2 a.m. and you know, it's now about 4:15, 4:30, and I'm putting him in a stand. And so I jump in my truck and I drive about another quarter to 3/8 a mile, you know, and I stop on top of a hill because it's a long ridge clay hill that goes down about another 400 yards and, you know, down this right of way. And it's a real wide right of way, you know, probably, you know, 30 yard wide. And so you left him in that spot to go to your spot. That's right. I left him in his stand armed because he'd already taken one deer there, and he wanted to hunt there. So I drive about a quarter. It's about a half mile between his stand and mine. So I drive half that distance because, you know, there's a red clay hill down there, and I don't want to have any problems getting back up it in my truck. So I park on top of the hill right next to the brush, And I get out of my truck and I click my flashlight on and I get away from my truck and I don't make 10 yards from my truck walking down this, this right of way, and something comes running up to right beside my door in the brush of my truck. And I'm not in my truck. I'm looking and I shine my light. And no big deal. I don't have time to deal with this. So I take off walking and there's this definite crunch, and it is heavy and it is large and it is 5 yards in the brush just behind the trees.
Walking.
And it's walking.
Yes.
It's walking and it's following me. And I stop and I turn around and I shine my light and I look, and it still hasn't dawned on me. I'm getting a vaguely familiar thing because I had repressed the very first thing. I repressed it, so that I could go in the woods and do the things I do, with primitive survival.
Right.
So I've repressed this to the point that it's not even dawning on me. And then I start walking again and it's crunch. And I'd stop and I try to catch it with my flashlight and I'm shining and I really don't see anything. It's dark. And then it dawned, then I said, oh, this is familiar. Okay, there's no way this is happening again. No way. That first one didn't happen. There's no way this will happen again. Right? So I start walking, crunch. This is happening. So I shine a light. I can't catch it. It's not moving. So I start walking, and I'm gonna get smart this time. I'm gonna shine higher.
Yeah, it's back to playing those games like you did in Encounter 1, where you did the half step.
Yeah, and it doesn't want to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm walking, and so I get smart this time. You know what? I'm gonna shine up higher. Because this thing it's heavy, it's large. I can hear it. You could hear it in the ground. It wasn't like the first one, the light little tap. This thing had weight. And so I shine up high real quick. I was walking. I didn't even stop and turn. I just turned and then stopped. And I shined high, and I shined its eyes. And it stumbled. It stepped on a stick, stumbled, and hit its head on a limb. And the limb had come out into the right of way, and the rain that had been misting on it shook off into right there by me, into the right of way.
What a detail to remember.
And I've been trained to pay attention.
Seeing that water come off those leaves as it hit is a detail that anybody making something up does not express.
Well, I've been a primitive survivalist for quite a while, and I pay attention to what things do.
Yeah, detail, impact, and reaction.
Yeah, and I pay attention to what they don't do and why they didn't make the choices that I thought they would have made. I pay attention to every little detail, and so I shine in his eyes, and and I blinded him to the point he stepped on about an 1.5 inch round limb. It gave way and broke. When it broke, he went forward and head forward into this tree limb. And the tree limb, was pretty good sized tree limb. It come out over into my right of way, and it shook, and all the moisture off of it rained down right there next to me. And that's when I got scared. That's when the hair stood up on me, and I said, "Oh my God, there's a problem." Because I'm looking at this guy. I looked at this guy in his eyes, and he's 8 feet tall. I went back and measured the limb that he bumped his head on, and it was 96 inches.
Diameter?
96 inches off the ground.
Oh my God.
Okay, later on, I went back with a tape measure and measured that. Because
you remember what kind of tree it was?
It was a deciduous tree.
Yeah.
It was a deciduous tree, not a pine tree. Important. But it just had some little green leaves on it, And I said, okay.
So what happens after he hits the limb? Then what?
I freak out a little bit. I pinch myself. Okay, because I told myself, okay, You know, I remember during the first one, I wished I'd have pinched myself to make sure this is real.
Right.
So I grabbed my forearm and I twist. And I pulled hair off my forearm and I still didn't wake up. And this still didn't change the situation. This is real.
So let's paint the picture for the audience. This is still happening in the darkness, and all of what you just said happened within the circumference of whatever your light was shining.
Oh, he was, I was 10 yards from the brush line. He was 5 yards in it. 15 yards from me. Okay.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, so I'm standing there. I have his eye shine in my flashlight. He's bumped his head and he's looking at me, and the dew is, and the moisture is raining off these trees, and it rains down just within about a couple of feet of my boot.
And it didn't make any sound when it hit the tree? Like verbally audible?
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
If it did, I didn't hear it.
Right.
It was a large thump on that tree.
Right, yeah, that's what that was the sound, but it didn't reciprocate as if to say, or anything like that.
No, he was a consummate professional. Okay.
As if it's been done many times.
Yeah. And so this is when I say, oh my God, I have a problem. Right. And there's no going back to my truck. You know, we're still only about 35 yards from my truck. And the brush line's right there next to my door. I'm not going back to my truck. So whatever this problem is going to be solved right out here. You know? And so that's what I decided. And so I take off walking, and I'm pivoting. I'm watching him, listening to him walk, and I'm walking down this right of way, and I'm pivoting and watching and walking. And, you know, I have my gun to the ready. And then I realize the block of woods he's in is going to come to an end. Just about another 200 yards down, there's a corner right there, and the block of woods he's in, he's got to turn away from me or step out. And so I start moving fast. I'm moving. I'm scooting. I'm on 360 pivot. I'm keeping an eye on him. I got my light, you know, on him most of the time. I gotta have my gun off safety and for where I could hip shoot if I needed to. Because my question is what else is out here? Is there another one out here? Is he alone? You know, does he have a partner? What does he want? You know, all these questions are in my mind as I'm moving and scooting and moving and scooting, and finally I get to the end of that block of woods that he's in, and I stick my gun under my weapon, I shoulder my weapon, flip, you know, get ready, and I said, okay, we're gonna have it out right here. You know, I don't want to shoot this thing, but if it comes out, that's it. And he scoffed his feet, just like a little kid would.
Unbelievable. More stomping of the feet.
Yeah, so this is a trait to them. When they get frustrated, they'll scuff their feet like a kid that didn't get their way. So he scuffs his feet and takes off. And you couldn't believe the relief on me. Oh my God! Oh, thank you. You know, and because it went, you know, that where the corner goes, it goes. It has a right of way. It goes down. It goes, and about 50 yards, it drops down into a creek bottom. You know, and he went away from me.
And that right of way opening was what, a good 50 yards wide, a nice opening, or was it a field? Okay.
It's where the corner was. I passed the corner up, and I went up towards the edge of the woods. 'Cause at the you know, there's a edge of woods there, and just a little pig trail that goes down to my stand. And so I put some distance between me and the corner of that, you know, that wood block he was in. And so I'm standing there. I'm probably 40 yards off the corner of that wood block, of that block of woods, with my weapon drawn, ready to go, ready to rock and roll. I got the light in my hand under the forestock. You know, whatever you want to do, let's do it. And he takes off. He turns and takes off down that, you know,
inside the wood line, down towards the bottom.
Yeah, he's inside the wood line, and he takes off towards the draw down there. So
that opening saved you.
Well, not quite.
Uh-oh.
I said, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Yes, I hit my little, pig trail that's going down to my little food plot and my stand that's on the ground, and I'm running, it's about 80 yards. I take off running. Oh, let's get in this deer stand. Oh my God, let me get in this deer stand, I get to my deer stand, I round the corner, and the door's right there on the brush side of the woods, and of course I get there and I realize I didn't fix my door. The door was nailed on with rubber soles so they didn't make any noise when you open it. Well, they were broke and the door was just leaned up there, and so I was like, dang, I forgot to grab the screws and the hammer. I can't believe I ain't fixed this yet. So I get in, my it's probably 6x4 box stand. It's sitting on the ground. I get in, I grab the door, and I just leaned up against it, like I'd done before hunting. And I unfold my chair. I sit down, I click my light off, and I said, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm safe, And then I hear him. He's 35 yards out, and he beat me to my stand.
He knew where that stand was.
He knew exactly where the stand was. He knew exactly where I was going. And he creeps up. I hear his footsteps.
It's still dark?
It's still dark. And it's so dark. It is so dark that with my light off, looking through the windows of my deer stand, I could just barely make out a little bit of starlight, a little bit of difference between the inside of my stand and the windows. That's how dark it was. And I'm sitting there with my light off, and I hear him. He's 35 yards directly off my door, and he starts creeping in slowly. And every foot, I'm sitting there in the dark, and I'm mapping out every move he makes. I'm listening to heel to toe. And he's covering some ground as he's moving too. He's stalking and he's moving, covering some ground, and his feet are moving so slowly. It's taken 7.5 to 8 seconds from heel to toe as he creeps up. I'm counting the seconds. There's his heel, and you can hear the crunch, and there's his toe. And then, here it is, another one closer.
The heel,
and he's creeping.
Yeah.
And he's creeping up. And when he gets about 10 yards off the door, he goes on all fours. He gets on all fours, and the brush line, the brush is, just kind of tickling the tin roof on my deer stand. It parts. Boom. And he's behind my door in the dark. And the question in my head was, oh my God, what does this thing want? Do I pull the trigger?
Wait, how did you know it was on all fours?
You could hear his hands. And if you give me a minute, you'll see.
Sorry.
He's on all fours behind my door, and I thought, oh my God, what does this thing want? Do I pull the trigger? No, I don't pull the trigger. I have a son half a mile away in another deer stand, and if I pull, if you know anything about killing an animal, they got about a minute or two to do whatever they want to you before they're dead to you. And I do not want this thing to have any time with me in any kind of distress to do what it wants to do, because my son is out there. He's 12 years old, and I keep thinking of him. If anything happens to me, he's in trouble. We're 3 miles from the nearest burning light. We're back here. And so don't pull the trigger. I decided I will not pull the trigger unless he touches that door. If he touches the door or reaches in after me, I'm going to have to pull the trigger. But as long as that door stays where it is, I'm holding my fire. My safety is off. I'm pointed to the door. I'm sitting in the stand, in my chair in my stand, and I hear this thing go. And he sniffs the bottom of my door at the crack.
Unbelievable.
Okay, I got the door leaned up. It's off its hinges, so it's just leaned up. And he's at the crack of my door sniffing. He does it twice. And then I realized what he wanted. As a common practice, I scent kill everything on me. I am a black hole in the woods when it comes to scent. And he doesn't, even though he saw me, and this is an observation of mine, even though he saw me with a flashlight, saw me get out of a truck, saw me with a gun, seeing wasn't believing, smelling was. And he had to smell me to identify me. And he couldn't smell me. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do to make him smell? I got some chew in the back of my mouth, so I spit at the door. I spit and I hit the door, and it runs down the door, and he kind of and he reverses his track back, and the brush comes back up a little bit disheveled, but still he's backing up. He's getting away from my stand, and he leaves out. And within about 10 minutes, it starts turning gray and start getting light. And yeah, that was the time that I said, okay, this is a phenomenon. I named it a phenomenon because there is at that time, 2009, I can now admit that there's a phenomenon out there that will make you believe that there's a Bigfoot. That's as far as I was willing to go with it, at that time. And somehow these things have to be disproved, somehow for my own sanity.
Unbelievable story.
Are
you convinced that it was the same one that sniffed the door? Because if it knew it was you getting out in the truck, blah, 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 why sniff?
Well, that's the thing. I believe that their mindset is so primitive that seeing isn't believing. They got to smell it too. And every one I've ever come across will circle downwind from you and sniff you. You won't know they'll do it, but they'll do it. And so after that, I collect my son. We go back to camp, and I set up a permanent encampment. I wasn't going to. But as the day progressed, and we had camp set up, and he's piddling around, and the sun goes down, and he's just having a good time being a boy camping. He says, out of the blue, he says, Sasquatch is going to get you tonight. I said, why? I said, why in the world would you say that? He said, because it's funny. It's we can tell scary stories. We're going to tell scary stories around the fire because it's he and I, and we're set up in a plowshare under a 10x10 trail tarp, diamond fly, with a fire there and their weapons in their gear. And he says, we're going to tell scary stories tonight. I said, you want to hear a scary story? I got one for you. And I went step by step through everything I observed and what happened. And he when I was done, he had his eyes were big, his mouth was open. He says, there's no way that happened. And I said, that's the same thing I said.
Unbelievable. It's a riveting story.
And as an observation, I don't know. I really don't. He knows that I tell the truth. Yeah. And I think he knows that what happened really happened. I just think, just like I was for a long time, I can't admit to myself that that's real.
It's got to happen to you.
As an observation, looking back at the mistake that caused this encounter, I know what it was. We were dropping, droppings every quarter and a half mile across that national forest, and that's where we picked him up. He thought that was a territorial display. Having droppings every quarter and a half mile, for 3 miles across there. And that's what I think he interpreted as a territorial dispute. And I think that's why he chased my truck down, because I heard him at the gate. I heard him at my son's stand, and he caught me down there where I parked at. And so, and seeing me wasn't good enough. He had to smell me and identify me, and I think the smell had something to do with the droppings that were being left. And so when I spit at the door, he recognized me as human and went on.
Unbelievable. So, where are you now with it? What's your feelings towards the creatures in general now? I mean, I know you've got several other encounters. Would you be willing to do like a part 2 interview? Because
I'll tell it all as it progresses. I'll tell everything.
Okay.
And I have a lot of insight on them. I've made a lot of observations of what they do and what they don't. And everything they do is absolutely logical if you just think about it.
That 96 inches, that's 8 foot high.
Yeah. Yeah, he hit his head on that. He was a little bigger than that, I think. Because he hit his head on that.
Probably fell forward, yeah.
Oh, he was huge. He was massive.
So since that time, did that spur you enough to want to look for them or to study them or to, let's not use the term research, but to be intrigued enough about them to find out more?
Yes, I started reading and research, really getting into other people's accounts and trying to see if anybody else out there had the same.
Right.
Because to me, the subject was very new to me. Right. And so I wanted to know was there anybody out there that had similar experiences. And if there was a video of them telling about it, I watched it.
Right.
And I did a lot of the historical research.
Right.
And really trying to nail this thing down as something that has existed for eons.
I'm convinced that they were here before we showed up.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Did you ever know Mike Woolley or come across with Mike?
I haven't been affiliated with anybody in the field of research.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Well, Mike really wasn't a researcher. Mike was a hunter who
hunter.
had an encounter.
Okay.
A really aggressive encounter. I'll send you the YouTube video. We went and met Mike, and he was gracious enough to tell his story again. But I'll send that to you when you have some time. Watch it. I think you could learn a little bit from it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's coming up on that 1 hour mark. Is there anything you want to leave off with, or?
Anytime you go looking, be careful of what you're looking for. Because when you're looking, they're looking back. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So, thank you for having me and interviewing me. And if you want to, keep doing this, I'd love to. So.
Yeah. Listen. Hey, just stay right there on the line. We're definitely going to have you back on for a part 2. Apparently, you have more encounters, and you're willing to share what you've learned to get some awareness out there. I think we're both on the same page of trying to get to the bottom of the truth, or wanting to know the truth, know that they're there. But
yes,
also it's really important that just like any game species, us as humans try to do our best with game species to manage. I don't think these things are capable of being managed. I think it needs to be geared toward contiguous land management and for these creatures, and those sites are left alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page as that, and that's a good thing. I think that's the way to approach it, or have a good frame of mind about it. There's a lot of folks that'll tell you that, if one steps out, they're shooting it, no matter what. I mean, I've come across folks that tell me that all the time.
I've been 10 yards from them. And even though I've been scared to death, terrified, I've never once had one try to kill me or harm me in any way.
What do you think, after having so many years to reflect, so many theories that you might have, some of which yourself is valid, I mean, there's no book on it yet, right? But you've had intimacy that no one else has. How do I ask this? What exactly do you think they were doing with you?
I believe I made mistakes, those encounters. I made certain mistakes. The first one, I was at the best hunting spot there. I was hunting too far back and too late in the day, because most people, they study you. They study everybody. And these places that you go when you hunt and fish, know what you're going to do or what you're supposed to do. If you do anything out of the ordinary, you're going to draw attraction to you're going to attract them to come you out.
Unreal.
The first one, I made the mistake of being in a hunting spot. And the second one, I made the mistake of, leaving,
the poop.
The poop every half mile across this, and traveling fast.
Yeah.
The traveling fast part, think about it from their aspect. What's going to do 30 to 38 miles an hour leaving poo every half mile?
Yeah.
On his, from the way he's looking at it, he has a problem.
Yeah. Another rogue male may have come into his territory and is covering some ground and leaving their marks, and that's not going to happen on my ground. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you really look at it from their standpoint, everything they do is completely logical.
Well, hey, this is a good place to stop it. Just hold on 1 minute. I'll stop the recording.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You hear?
No problem.
I know every one of my listeners really do appreciate you sharing this. Hold on 1 minute.
Yep.
Really do appreciate you sharing this. Hold on 1 minute.
Yep.
Really do appreciate you sharing this. Hold on 1 minute.
Yep.
Really do appreciate you sharing this. Hold on 1 minute.
Yep.
Really do appreciate you sharing this.